Hello there. Welcome to today's newspaper review with Zina, where we'll be reviewing newspapers across the globe and right here in our country. So let's get right into it to find out what's actually going on in our country. So in today's newspaper review, we are starting off with Punch newspaper. And for the first news headline from Punch newspaper, we're having kidnapping crisis, governors convene emergency session, school lockdown rise. In response to the escalating security crisis in our region, the 19th Northern Governors has scheduled an emergency meeting for November 29, 2025 to be held in Kaduna State. So because of the whole crisis, it feels like our governors are beginning to get a little bit agitated and they are deciding to hold a meeting concerning this whole kidnapping, the whole banditry, the whole attacking churches, the whole alleged Christian genocide and all. But hopefully they come up to a resolution that will lead to a better Nigeria. For the second news headline from Punch newspaper, strike. ASUU NEC to review FG's final terms on Wednesday. The National Executive Council of the Academic Staff Union of Universities will meet on Wednesday to decide the union's next line of action following the conclusion of renegotiations undertaken by the Yayale Ahmed-led committee set up by the federal government. I feel like we might have so much already to be discussing about, but ASUU is something that is really important because education is key, right? We need our future leaders to be educated. But why is ASUU and the federal government, they are always fighting, always negotiating? At the end of the day, they go back to the strike's end, then go. It's the whole back and forth. It's becoming tiring. Everybody is tired of it already. Previously, when you hear ASUU strike, everybody gets agitated. But right now, we're tired of it. So federal government, ASUU, please do better. Moving further, UK rejects Nigeria's request to transfer Ekweremadu. The British government has turned down a request by Nigeria to deport former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, who is serving a prison term in the United Kingdom for an organ trafficking. This issue about Ekweremadu, it's when the news came up of Nigerian Senate going to the UK for them to delegate the issue of bringing him back to Nigeria. When I heard about it, I'm like, is this not shameful that we could actually be worrying about issues like this? The man did something wrong. He was caught. He should be paying his terms for it and not bring him back to Nigeria where he will be babied about the crime he actually committed and lead to other persons feeling like they could actually commit the same crime. Let him serve his term. And at the end of the day, we are praying for a better country, right? So let's focus on something that is more important than trying to bring back somebody that actually did something wrong. Moving further to Daily Trust newspaper, the first news headline from Daily Trust newspaper today is Military's approach to insecurity not working. Kebbi government. Governor Nasser Idris of Kebbi State has called on the military to change the tactics used in tackling insecurity. Ever since US President called out Nigeria for alleged Christian genocide, it felt like the military stepped up their game. But right now, they've stepped up their game, but it feels like the game that they stepped up is not stepping up enough. So we need to step up our game further, re-strategize. Don't we have people in the military that actually think? Let's re-strategize, think of better ways to beat these people to it. Because right now, they are winning us, so it's like 100-0. So let's step up our game. Let's think of something to do to actually win them as this. This is why the military is there, to protect us, save lives. But now lives are being lost. So let's let the military come up with better solutions. I think I stand with the government of KB. For them to come up, they should re-strategize and come up with better tactics to deal with this issue. Moving further, the second headline from Daily Trust, time for state police is now. Southwest governors. The Southwest Governors Forum yesterday called for the establishment of state police following the rising insecurity across the country. The governors also drew the federal government's attention to what is called an urgent need for enhanced forest surveillance across states of the region. So it feels like the states in the south, we're all relaxed, we're feeling like we're at peace, we're not really feeling the whole insecurity because right now we're not being affected by it directly. So our government are beginning to, they're trying to see far. Let's come up with strategies. Let's guard our states before they come to this region. So that's what the whole gathering was for them to come together and see how they could mount their guard to prevent this terrorists from getting to the south. I think that is a very good one. I must commend them for that. The third headlines from Daily Trust today is wife allegedly stabbed husband to death 3 days after wedding. A newlywed groom, Abubakar Abdul Karim, popularly known as Dan Gaskia, has allegedly been stabbed to death by his wife just 3 days after their wedding in Jabia local government area, Katsina State. What is really going on? Are we now our own terrorists? Because what would lead a woman to kill her own husband 3 days right after the wedding? I mean, 3 days after the weddings, they are supposed to be all lovey-dovey. They just got married. They are enjoying each other's company. And so what would have led this woman to actually do this? Though right now the police are actually investigating the whole issue. And at the end of the day, hopefully they come out with also a reason. Even if they've come up with a reason, hopefully they come up with if she actually did this. Because right now it's alleged. They'll find out if she actually did this and why, if there's a reason behind it. So people will actually be at rest. But my heart goes to the family of Mr. Abubakar. Moving further to the Guardian newspaper, the first headline for the Guardian newspaper today is Southeast calm as sit-at-home records partial compliance. The Southeast region recorded calmness amid a viral video on social media that called for a sit-at-home yesterday in protest over the conviction and transfer of the leader of Indigenous People Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, to a correctional facility in Sokoto State. I do not know what they were actually expecting. Were they expecting that as they have put their leader they've convicted him for his crimes, were they expecting them to be riled up and start killing? I like the way they actually tackle this issue. Everybody is chill. Reporters went round and they found out that in Enugu State, people went about their activities. In Abia State was more calm, and other states they were all calm about it, but they are still strong on having their sit at home being held on Mondays. But right now it's all calm, and I like the fact that the Igbos, the eastern states are actually tackling this very well. Let's focus on what is actually going on. The real issue here is the issue of banditry in Nigeria, the herdsmen and whatever we call them. Moving further, Nigerian-US deepen security ties as Washington offers support for MBELT. Experts advise federal government to deploy drones against insecurity. A series of higher-level engagement between the federal government and the United States last week has opened the door to deeper security cooperation and expanded support for Nigerians' counter-terrorism and stabilization efforts. So I like the fact that other countries are beginning to come hand in hand with, especially the US, to fight the issue of insecurity in Nigeria, to come up if they have better facilities, better tools to use for us to use in fighting terrorism. They should come up with it. They should give it to us. Let's find a way to tackle this once and for all. Moving further to the third headline from the Guardian newspaper. Court adjourns DSS Serap's 5 billion naira defamation suit till February. Justice Yusuf Haliyu of Federal Capital Territory High Court, Matiama, adjourned the adoption of final written address in a 5 billion naira defamation suit filed against the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability to February 19, 2026. I've just been calling 5 million naira 5 It's actually 5 billion naira lawsuit that was actually against them because they came up and Serap was accusing DSS for coming into their facility with unknown persons, and DSS says that's a lie. So they would sort out the issues. By next year, they will sort out the issues in the courts, and we'll find out if they actually get to pay for defamation. Moving further to international news, we're looking at New York Times from USA. The first headline for New York Times is charges tossed for two Trump foes, Comey and James. U.S. federal judge has dismissed the criminal cases against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James, ruling that the prosecutor who brought the charges was improperly appointed. The decision voiced all indictments as procedural grounds rather than on the merits of the allegations. The dismissal, seen as a setback for efforts widely viewed as political motivated, underscores judicial limits on executive-driven prosecutions. The next news headline from New York Times: win for Putin, peace or war. Recent diplomatic proposals to end the Russia-Ukraine war have been widely described as a major boost for Putin. The US-backed plan would require Ukraine to surrender contested territories, scale down its military, and abandon its NATO ambitions. So this whole Ukrainian issue, is it actually, they are deliberating, is it a win or is it for peace? They would sort out their issues. These foreign bodies, they always know how to curtail their issues and make sure it doesn't escalate. Moving further to the Jerusalem Post from Israel, the first headline from Jerusalem Post: Zamir clashes over October 7 probe. Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz and IDF Chief of Staff Zamir have entered a public confrontation over the investigation into the October 7 security failures. Katz ordered a new review of the regional military probe and froze senior IDF appointment until the reassessment is completed. Moving further, the second news and the last news headline for today from Jerusalem Post was high, death toll in Gaza necessary. A Jerusalem Post analysis examines whether the scale of destruction and high civilian death toll in Gaza were necessary to achieve Israel military's objectives against Hamas. So now they're asking, was it really necessary? The killings that actually happened in Gaza, was it really necessary? Because they were trying to, the problem was against Hamas, but Gaza was highly affected. That's all for today. Until next time, make sure you go ahead, go online, check for newspapers, check for Punch newspapers, check for Daily Trust newspapers, check for Jerusalem Post, check for New York Times, check for the newspapers I've actually reviewed today. Go through it, actually understand what this news is talking about, because right now all I just did was to review it, just summarize it, but you actually need to know what it's actually about. So when you go out there, you won't be seen as, shallow. But until next time, make sure you stay informed, because information is power.